Good morning. I normally confine myself to the issues that pertain to Canada, North America, and then which have international repercussions. And today I'm making a slight departure. I'm going to discuss and provide comments on the new development in Kashmir, or rather in South Asia, and that development is such which can have global repercussions. As you were sleeping, or just going to sleep, the Indian Army, for the first time in the history, conducted a surgical strike and destroyed 7 terrorist camps within a parameter of 3 to 4 kilometers from the line of control. It's estimated that about 30 to 40 terrorists were killed in the strike, 7 camps were destroyed, and some Pakistani officers also lost their lives. The loss of any life is not a very happy thing and not a thing to crow about. But the liquidation of the terrorists is definitely something to rejoice about. Because the terrorists are a scourge not only to India but to Pakistan and to the world peace. This was to happen. This is the second time in the history of India that the Prime Minister had given a free hand to the army chief to act the way he decides is the best way to go forward. Having failed over the last few years in approaching Pakistan politically, diplomatically, to restrain, to check, to stop and impede the coming in of terrorists from across the border into India and creating mayhem, having failed there, the Indian Prime Minister called the army chief and asked him to take whatever steps are feasible to stop it. The first time it happened was in August 1971, when the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had called General Manekshaw, later on Field Marshal Manekshaw, and told him to take necessary steps and ensure that the Bangladesh issue is resolved. And I said this is the second time it had happened. Now the point is, was it necessary? That's the first question. Second question is, what are going to be the implications? You see, it was necessary. It was necessary last time when the terrorists created mayhem in Bombay, when 10 terrorists held Bombay to ransom for 3 days, and more than 200 people were killed, including some Israeli and some American citizens. It was necessary at that time to take a surgical operation when the Indian Parliament was attacked. It was necessary to take such a step when Pathankot Air Base was attacked. But the hands of the army were tied by the political considerations, and rightly so. War is never an option. War should be taken as a last resort. And so when this time 18 soldiers were killed, it establishes a series of attacks, and no sovereign country can ever accept that. Especially that sovereign country which hopes to be a leader of the world. Today it's the leader of South Asia. Yes, it hopes to be leader of the world. It may or may not be, there's something different. So necessity is definitely there. Now the implications. I must compliment and congratulate on the very mature response of the Pakistan army. You see, the political situation in Pakistan is also very volatile. And Pakistan army has taken wind out of the sails of the terrorist supporting people over there by saying there was no surgical strike. Rather, they have come up with an alternative scenario saying that there was firing across the border and 2 Pakistani soldiers were killed. This way, they have minimized the impact of surgical strike as far as the Pakistan public is concerned. Now imagine day before yesterday, the Pakistan minister had said that we have tactical nuclear weapons and they are not show pieces, we'll use them against India. Within 24 hours, the surgical strike takes place. So, there were 2 options for the Pakistan. A, either it could have started retaliatory efforts, which would have escalated into an all-out war. And given the condition today, its impact on the world peace would have been disastrous. Second, what they have done, they have tried to look as a normal across the border firing, which is almost a daily phenomenon over there. So this action of theirs shows that despite the bravado, despite the loud talk of the politicians, army for the first time possibly has shown a sensible attitude and said, well, there was no surgical strike. It was just across the border firing. So the matters can rest. But can they rest? That's a $1 million question facing the people. That's a $1 million question facing the world at large. The next step that India is envisaging, and it's known to everybody, is the withdrawal of the MFN status from Pakistan. Now, trade should not be a casualty, I have always been saying. But then, when all other efforts fail, then you have to squeeze to ensure the peace is kept. And if MFN status is taken away, the trade would plummet. Pakistan would be deprived of major imports and also major exports. Then the Indus Water Treaty. 6 rivers flowing through India, out of them 3 going to Pakistan, are in danger of being stopped. If the water is stopped, I hope it doesn't happen. Then the Pakistan's agriculture and the social life can be out of joint. Surgical strike does not mean it should happen, but there are the other actions which the government of India can take if the need is there. Now coming to the surgical strikes. Along with the surgical strikes, because complete Indian Air Force and the all Indian Army has been put on high alert. The status is today DEFCON 3. That means within notice of 3 hours, Indian Army can move. At the same time, Pakistan Army is also on the alert. The villages along 10-kilometer border, within 10 kilometers in Punjab, have been evacuated. That is because in case the war is there, they will be the first targets of the army in Pakistan. Pakistan Army has assembled en masse on Jaisalmer border. So border right from Jaisalmer, the sands and the deserts of Jaisalmer, to the verdant fields of Punjab, is today bristling with military activity. The complete Air Force is on alert. Pilots are ready. The engines are possibly revving. The only hope is it doesn't become airborne. because that will be a disaster not only both the countries but to the world at large. As I said earlier, war is the last option. Surgical strikes have a definite advantage, as has been proved many times. When Israel undertook surgical strikes, it ensured that the all-out war would not be there and showed a way to the others that precision and surgical strikes with a medical precision can eliminate the source of irritant without in any way involving army at large or public at large. There is no collateral damage. Now let's be very clear. If war is there, there is collateral damage. But when the surgical strike is there, it's like a laser attack which only hits the diseased cell, the cancerous cell, and the rest of the body politic is not affected. This is exactly what has been done in this midnight attack. At about 3 in the morning, Indian helicopters and gunships para-drop the commandos inside Azad Kashmir, and before the daybreak, that means in a period of 3 to 4 hours, those 7 terrorist bases are destroyed, the terrorists killed, evidence taken, and the army is back. Now this sort of a surgical operation, as the name itself denotes, shows high degree of preparation, high degree of precision, and as I said earlier, no collateral damage. Public at large is not affected. Now look at the difference. When the terrorist comes, he attacks only the common public, innocent people who have no role to play. Here, only the wrongdoer is being punished. As a matter of fact, surgical strike should be taken as a punishment to the evildoer. And while I do commend the Indian forces for this high precision action, the same time, let's not ignore 2 factors. One is, immediately the response of the Pakistan army was a very balanced approach and an effort to minimize the effect on the Pakistan public. But the facts cannot be hidden for a long time in this age. And when the facts cannot be hidden, there will be an uproar in Pakistan. There is a danger that the Pakistan government might knuckle under the pressure of the supporters of Islamic fundamentalism, ignore the ground realities, and go for a war. Pakistan has definitely more nuclear weapons than India has. Pakistan is possibly the only country in South Asia which has nuclear tactical weapons, and that can be a danger to India. But in case Pakistan or India utilize nuclear weapons, they should not forget that it's a double-edged sword. The country which uses it and the country on which they are used, both are going to suffer. Is it advisable? I don't think so. No sane person would think so. So this is incumbent on the Pakistan leadership, both political and military, to ensure that they retain and maintain a balanced approach. Another effect can be that the terrorists now would think twice before making an attack. Now again, that is one way of saying it. The other way can be, they can be inflamed. Let's not forget that terrorists normally are not normal human beings. They are highly emotional, and their emotions can be inflamed by this attack Okay, how dare they attack on us? We have all been considering Indians to be cowards. And now they come and dare attack us in our home? We'll take an action. We'll retaliate with greater strength. So both all possibilities are there. A, they withdraw within their own shells and wait for another opportunity to strike. B, they have an impulsive reaction and possibly with some sleeping cells in India with Dwight Sport, they have multiple attacks in India. That possibility is there. I'm sure the Indian intelligence and the Indian armed forces are aware of this fact. This scenario is quite possible. So, as I said earlier, and in case that thing happens, you can be sure that the response would not be muted from the Indian side. You see, one attack, okay, you can digest. Two attacks, you can tolerate. Three attacks, you grimace and you bear it up, okay. But then if there are a series of multiple attacks, then you can be sure there's going to be retaliation. And in case of retaliation, this thing grows up. There is a domino effect. And as a result, the whole situation gets out of hand. I'm sure by this time, the telephone wires are burning red hot. But these political leaders did nothing, absolutely nothing, when India was attacked. Pious declarations of saying Pakistan should not do it is not acceptable to anybody. And that is why there was a bill in the Senate, US Senate, proposing that Pakistan be declared a terror-sponsoring state. If that had been done and Obama had not objected to that, possibly the situation would not have deteriorated to this. If Iran, if North Korea could be called the axis of evil, why not Pakistan? Let me tell you, I'm nothing against Pakistan. I was born in that area which is today part of Pakistan. I wish Pakistan and India to have a very close, good relationship because they are complementary to each other and combined they can face any issue. The money that is wasted on the defense both by India and Pakistan because of the infight between those countries can be utilized to uplift the life of the millions in India and Pakistan. But poised thinking does not change the ground realities. And the ground realities are that Pakistan has been caught in its own web. Sponsoring Taliban was the biggest mistake Pakistan did. They created a Frankenstein under the tutelage and the guidance of USA, the most undependable partner. USA has historically been a very selfish country which will sacrifice all its friends whenever its interest demands so. Pakistan failed to realize that. India realized it, and that's why it did not accept the conditions of USA. Pakistan did to bolster up its esteem against India, which was a mistake. And I'm sure Pakistan realizes it. That's why Pakistan public doesn't like to be a protege of USA. But coming to the latest strike, now the options being two, which I have explained. The ball is in the court of Pakistan and the Pakistan army. I'm saying army because the political leadership there is absolutely subservient to the army dictates. They do not have an identity of their own. They do not have a thinking of their own. They are loud mouths who will say things which have no meaning. Like the statement day before yesterday saying that we have tactical weapons and they are not for show business, we'll use them. No responsible political leader should ever have made such a statement, which is inflammatory and which can put the whole continent up in flames. So the Pakistan army should maintain its balance, and the first response which they have made is a very sensible response. I'm sure they do not lose sense of proportion. I've seen jingoists today on the Facebook. One jingoist wrote, well, it's warmongering. Warmongering is promoting war. Surgical operation is a treatment, not war. Any operation is a treatment. It's meant to rectify the defects, not to increase them. War is to not to rectify, but to create more problems. So let's take things in a proper perspective, and let's hope, as they say, inshallah, that they would come to their senses, act in a responsible manner, and ensure that the peace in the world and peace in that region is maintained, so that the common people, people like you and me, do not suffer. Is it hoping too much? Let's see. Thank you.